Meanwhile, Senator Cory Booker out on the campaign trail in New Hampshire this weekend.
I had somebody say to me before a stage in Iowa, dude, I want you to punch Donald Trump in the face. And I look at him and I go, dude, that's a felony. We're not going to win this election by being more like him.
Morning Joe medical contributor Dr. Dave Campbell recently traveled to Newark, New Jersey to catch up with the Democratic senator and presidential hopeful in the latest installment of our Candidate Checkup series.
We hopped the river to visit Senator Cory Booker in Newark, New Jersey, where in his former position of mayor, he served as a major catalyst for change and social justice. We spoke about his vision for the future of our nation and how staying centered and leading by example are crucial, both in his high-intensity city of Newark and out on the demanding campaign trail. We started off by discussing just how much the public should know about a presidential candidate's health.
Presidential candidates should be a lot more transparent about their physical health.
How do you stay in shape on the campaign trail? Can't be easy.
It's not easy. I mean, my health regimen this last year has sort of hit that wall of constantly traveling, jumping on planes. And so I try to stay centered with muscle and cardio work when I can get it.
How do you manage and process stress, and what do you do to relieve it?
What I went through in Newark, talk about a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
I was taking on a big political machine, had threats on my life, had just very dangerous situations. That was a stress that was in many ways what prepared me, and it really drove me back to some of my core training in meditation, prayer, how do you center yourself. That kind of mental training is something that has served me well now.
Tell me a bit about your current health.
I spent a big part of my life, from the time I was a teenager, all-American football player here in New Jersey, and just intense athletic competition, all the way to Division I football at Stanford. So the older I'm getting now, I understand the diet is that's my big challenge. And working out actually helps me. When I go running, jogging, it's like it fires my brain. I sometimes write my best speeches running and have some of my best ideas. So keeping that workout going and controlling and balancing out my diet, that's what's the most important thing for me.
Let's do some quick rapid fire questions. How do you keep your mind fit?
Meditation, prayer.
What's your exercise routine?
Cardio and resistance training.
How do you balance nutrition and comfort foods?
Constant struggle.
So I know you don't drink.
Yeah, no.
And I can be pretty sure that you don't smoke.
You know, I made a decision as an athlete, and then it stuck. And I just never, ever did either.
What can others learn in this country from your switch to being a vegan?
It has, for me, been a really wonderful switch in my life.
What are some of your favorite meals?
Still give me a great Impossible Burger and fries.
Do you cook at home?
What I do is cooking.
Does it count as cooking?
If you were going to ask my girlfriend, she's upstairs right now, she would laugh at the question. But I love steaming vegetables at home. I love making a good fruit shake, throwing a bunch of different fruits in a blender, bananas.
Before we leave, maybe we can get one of those?
We could make we should go upstairs. I would love to show you a great vegan meal.
Senator Booker's overflowing energy, warmth, and hospitality are admirable, and clearly a key to his success. If we take the impact of obesity on the health of Americans, how can Cory Booker translate what you're doing as a person to help the rest of this country?
Our whole system is subsidizing the things that make us sick. The Farm Bill incentivizing certain things and not others that would make us healthier. My kids walk into a bodega and a Twinkie product is cheaper than an apple. These are things that I have challenged as a senator, but boy, make me your president, because I do not think that we should be having a multiplier effect of investing in the things that are making us sick.
As the senator walked us around the neighborhood, it became clear how he got the reputation of one of the most social and approachable mayors in the country. It's also evident that the poverty, high crime rates, and gun violence in Newark deeply affect him and form the cornerstone of his vision for our country.
I asked emergency room doctors, what are the medical costs, non-fatal gunshot wound, when they rush a person to hospital?
Yeah.
And they were telling me numbers like $100,000, $200,000. Yes. Right. So just think about this. We can invest a fraction of that money into preventative programs, and again, evidence-based preventative programs that we know work. But yet we are a society that would rather spend the hundreds of millions of dollars it costs for the medical care of people that are being rushed in. We now send our children to school with the implicit message that we can't protect you. There are now more shelter-in-place drills and active shooter drills in American schools and fire drills. The number one cause of death in my community for black boys, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, is murder. And so this is why I feel such a conviction around this gun violence issue. I refuse to let my nation cascade down into fear. We are stronger than this. And as President of the United States, I will muster that national will to pass laws to protect Americans.
What should be mainstream for mental health in our poorest communities?
My health care plan says that part of the essential care of any American, so your insurance should cover this, has got to be mental health care.
And it's tough because there is this implicit bias. It's embarrassing for people to talk about it, to admit it. How do we get past that?
We watched Donald Trump using these platforms in ways we've never seen presidents do before. I mean, he has just Twitter followers bigger than any network in commanding views. So imagine you were using these platforms not to demean, degrade, and divide, but you were using these platforms to pull people out of the shadows, to shine lights on issues. It will hopefully inspire more common purpose, common cause, and help us to rise as a country together.
You clearly have the character and the temperament to be president. Can you beat Donald Trump?
Yeah. This is where I'm going to be very different than maybe you might expect. I don't think you beat darkness with darkness. I am here, the fourth black person ever popularly elected to the United States Senate, running to be the first person ever to be in the White House who's a descendant of slaves, and slaves built that house. Right. I'm here because the civil rights movement wasn't just black people fighting for their rights. It became the American people fighting for civil rights. When we come together as a country, there's nothing we can't do. I think we beat Donald Trump by pulling together. In fact, I know right now that that's Donald Trump's worst nightmare, is somebody that's going to stand up strong, but knowing that we're going to tear down your hate by unleashing the best of America before you. And that's why I say we make a mistake in this election if we keep talking about what we're against and not talking about what we're for.
Coming up on Morning Joe, the next steps in the impeachment probe, including a key ruling expected today that could compel former White House counsel Don McGahn to testify. Former Homeland Security Secretary Jeh Johnson is standing by. He joins our conversation next on Morning Joe.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.